Diets are stupid, made up rules that make no difference in real life. It's arbitrary, ridiculous, totally unnecessary. The biggest thing, the biggest issue is that diets are too rigid for real life, right? Most people have social lives and jobs and enjoy food and go on vacations and have all these different things that show up in their lives that don't fit this idea of having a rule like an all-time rule, like you're never gonna have sugar again, or you're never going to have carbohydrates or vegetables or what fat or whatever stupid thing they tell you to cut out. So that's the issue with diets, right? Like people can white knuckle holding on to this like super rigid rule set for as long as they can, right? For some people that's 2 weeks. For some people that's 12 weeks. For some people that's 2 years. But at some point, you get to a point where you're like, this is ridiculous. Where it's like the kind of person that you'd actually want to be with about food would eat the thing, even though the rule says that it wouldn't, right? Your kids make pancakes and those aren't on the diet, and you're like, oh man, I want to have the pancakes with my kids. Or like it's your best friend's birthday and you want to have the cake, or you're out on vacation and you want to try the thing and it doesn't fit the stupid rules that were made up, and the only way you've ever been taught to deal with that before is with free days. So your options are free days, free meals, where you have this like free for all and you eat all the things, and you're like this is my time. So you're like eating compulsively because this is your one shot, and like that's not what you want. That's not what anyone wants. No one wants to be like white knuckling a bunch of rules most of the time and then like compulsively eating on their free meals the time they actually like let themselves off the chain, right? That's ridiculous. It's childish. It's ridiculous and childish, and it's totally unnecessary. We have plenty of research on this stuff. There's tons of research, and we know that every named diet can work, and none of them really work meaningfully better than any of the others, right? We've tested every ratio of macronutrients, and it'll shock you, but there are some studies that found that like high carb, low fat people lost a pound more than people lost on low carb, high fat, right? And then you have another study where someone lost like 2 pounds more on low carb, high fat, but like overall, you look at the meta-analyses, and what you find is that there's no meaningful difference between any of the named diets, which means that none of the dogma that they're saying makes any difference at all. It's all marketing. It's all a waste of time. It's all jerking your chain. Even the ones that say that they're evidence-based, they found a rat study, or they looked at one metabolic process, and they were like, or it's an outcome study, There was no control group, right? They weren't comparing it to anything. And so they take these studies that like do suggest like the efficacy of a particular diet, but then they blow that out of proportion. They try and give it some meaning that it doesn't actually have, that this is the one true way, right? It's stupid, total waste of time. So what do you do instead? So I created a program called Eating Skills. The whole idea of Eating Skills was to create systems of eating skills. If you've ever done a habit-based nutrition program, or someone ever talked about skills, usually they're shotgunning random skills at you, which is stupid. That's like ridiculous. They're like, this week you're working on drinking water, and next week you're working on adding vegetables. The week after that you're working on sleep, and the week after that you're working on tasting your, and you're like, what do any of these things have in common? Like again, they're trying to do something that's a little bit deeper, but it's still ultimately a surface level solution, right? You want to start getting at root causes, right? So if the first layer, if you have an issue with snacking, right? If you're like mindless snacking, is to create a system, is to use a system of eating skills that makes a difference for snacking. So if you've seen my other videos, like you've gotten a sense of what that system might look like. So a system might look like a guideline, one concrete guideline, 2, an eating skill for like checking in about what's going on in your body, and 3, a cognitive skill for being with making a choice that's hard. So the system has these 3 parts. 1, a concrete skill, like pause 10 minutes before snacking. It's one of my favorites. That's like very concrete, obvious. Like I can set a timer. It's a really clear thing. Pause 10 minutes before snacking. Second thing would be an eating skill, like checking in with my stomach. Do I feel an empty, hollow feeling in my stomach, or do I just have or do I feel something else? Do I have a craving for a specific treat, or would I be hungry for a balanced meal? Right? Like we can start to look at these things, right? We can start to check in. Those would be eating skills. They're a little bit. They take more practice than something as obvious as like pausing 10 minutes. Then the third thing would be like the cognitive skills, where we start getting into, can I be with the urges and the thoughts and maybe emotions that come up if I don't have this thing the second I want it, right? And that's a system, right? Instead of like take your vitamins and go to sleep and add vegetable, they're all like 3 different things. These are 3 things that go together, and actually practicing them together is more effective than practicing them separately. This is why we don't do one small habit at a time. We do 3 at a time. If they work together, they're a system, right? It's actually more effective to use them as a system. So that would be a system of eating skills. That's the first layer of going deeper, where we start to check in with what's going on in there, and like, can I be with what's going on without having to eat? And then when we really start to go deeper is when we start to look at like transforming a relationship with food, which is a combination of looking at your values, looking at the kind of person that you want to be, and outlining what that looks like in specific choices. So this isn't like find your why and everything is going to work out. No, it's stupid. It's stupid. It does not work like that. No, you outline who you want to be about food in choices. And then you make those choices even when it's hard. And then the next level at getting at like the root causes is you start to check in the moment when it's hard. You start to see what's going on, right? What's going on, thoughts, bodily sensations, with this impulse, like what's going on in here in this situation. What situations do these urges show up, and these thoughts and emotions, and you start to get some insight into what's really going on. And then you can start taking the eating skills and building eating skill systems that match what's going on for you, so that you can make the choices that fit your values even in those hard situations. And that's what it looks like to actually lose weight without having to follow a bunch of rules that don't fit like the ups and downs of your life, and don't fit that like you want to do social things, and don't fit that like you've got family and you want to do fun things, or that you even just like love food, and sometimes you want to enjoy your food, and sometimes we have holidays like Thanksgiving. And so that's what it looks like to lose weight without rules or without tracking calories. We build systems of eating skills that match the situations that you have in your life that are hard, so you can make the choices that fit the kind of person you want to be. And most people, when they're doing that, that ends up being less food, because most people actually don't want to eat mindlessly all the time, and they don't want to eat to manage their stress, and they don't want to eat every time something's hard at work, and they don't want to eat every time they're watching stupid TV and they're a little bit bored. They want skills to be able to not eat in those situations, and then they want skills to be able to eat in the cool situations, and also be able to stop at a reasonable amount. Be able to have that date night out and eat the delicious thing and have some wine and stop at a reasonable amount and go home, and like, so that's what it looks like, and that'll give you a sense of what's possible to do things a totally different way. Where if you failed with diets in the past, and hard to put a number on exactly how many, the research suggests that the amount of people that are successful with diets is probably in the realm of like 15 to 30%. And so that leaves like 70 to 85% of people that just can't follow the rules forever, right? And those are all the people that hire me, and that's me, and that's it's most people, right? It's not that there's a physiological issue; it's that like it's a system issue. Like it's too rigid for real life. And so if you want something where you can actually make decisions that fit your life and be successful with those and lose weight, that's what this video is about. This is the alternative. I want you to know that there's an alternative and that it's pretty cool, and it takes practice, but it's worth it because you actually get to transform a relationship to food. You actually get to maybe even transform a relationship to your emotions, and make choices in these stressful situations where you get to be proud of how you're eating, and you aren't just numbing out stress all the time. You actually have some resilience, and that feels cool. It feels strong and wise and dynamic, and it makes it possible for you to enjoy the delicious things, the wonderful things, and the fun things when those come up.